Hey, Good Life family, it's Forrest here. Thank you for tuning in for today's 128 moment. For today, first off, happy Friday, but I want to dive into our Good Life journal. I'd start off by encouraging you, if you aren't reading the Bible right now, what are you doing? You got to be hopping into God's Word, and I would encourage you to do so through our Good Life journal. We're reading through the Bible in a year. So we started in the Gospel of Mark and in Genesis, and we're getting kind of towards the end of Genesis, and there's this really powerful moment where we're looking at the life of Joseph, a story you might be really familiar with, but I just want to remind us a little bit briefly of it, that Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. They were going to leave him for dead. He ends up in Egypt, and everything seems to be going like wrong in Joseph's life. Even when he does things the right way, it seems like God has forgotten about him. Like Joseph gets thrown into jail even though he was doing his job properly. He helps these guys out in jail, but then when they get out, they forget about Joseph. And then finally one day, the Pharaoh is having these dreams, and Joseph is called upon to help out Pharaoh, and he ends up in this position of power in Egypt. And I love this, that Joseph says when his brothers, so the same brothers that sold him out into slavery, that did this wrong to him, what Joseph ends up saying at the end of Genesis here is that Joseph says that God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors. Now, I don't understand in God's sovereignty how he's working all these things together, but he's working these things together. That is this act of evil, Joseph's brothers selling him into slavery, forsaking him, lying to his dad, telling him that his son is dead. God used that to actually put Joseph in a position to save a remnant of Israel, to save God's people. And it reminds me of the gospel story, that this great apex of evil that we see in the Gospel of Mark, that we are reading in the New Testament, where we see the crucifixion of Jesus in his sovereignty, the same way that God took Joseph and used the evil against him to preserve people for his name. He does the same thing at the cross, that as Jesus is killed, as evil seems to win the day, it's not how it is at all. That in God's sovereignty, he used evil against itself to conquer, to overcome, and to preserve a people for his name. And that's us, that we're called to worship him, we're called to follow him, and you can know that our whole Bible, all the way back in Genesis, it's pointing us to the cross, it's pointing us to Jesus. So, in light of that, hope you guys are enjoying reading along with the Bible. If you're not, dive in and join us, and we're looking forward to seeing you this Sunday as we wrap up our series, Less is More. Can't wait to gather together in person at 9:30 and 11, as well as online at 11 o'clock. So we'll see you soon.